In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to put your Sidewinder SV3 into your mini E-Revo. You're going to need RPM's ESC cage and the brushed motor mount and motor mount plate. You want to start off by taking off the switch mount on the top of the cage and just removing it with an X-Acto knife because you want as much room as possible. Then drill a hole in the bottom part of the cage right here where that line goes, and then with a 45-degree sanding drill bit you're going to round that. Now you're going to be drilling into the chassis by lining up this part of the receiver box and then heading all the way down to here and drilling a hole right above the line. Then drill another hole into the chassis right where you drilled the other one into the bottom of the cage. Cut both of these screws 2 millimeters shorter and just mount this to the chassis. Now slide the top part of the cage onto the ESC. You're going to mount it to the bottom piece using the 2 screws that go in the corners. Now you're going to demount the receiver box using 4 screws. Pop it up and then send the ESC wire through here and put it into channel 2. Make sure that the metal pieces are facing the top. Now set all these wires to the correct length and put on the clamp. Now you're going to put back in the receiver box by placing it in the lip. You're going to press it down and then put in the 2 screws that are on the side. Now you're going to put the motor on the motor mount, and you want to line it up correctly so that the wires go out this way. Now you're going to mount the pinion gear to the motor, and the way I like to do it is putting it on, tightening it like 1/8 of a turn so it stays a bit in place, and then you're just going to put your finger down because you want the pinion gear to be lining up with that wall and just have it a tiny bit more down. So that's perfect, and I'm going to finish tightening it up. And for a bit of leverage, I go with the other side. Perfect. And in case you're wondering, the Merv does use 48 pitch gearing. Now the next step is what's going to make the Valenian setup and the Sidewinder setup different. Normally with the Valenian, you slide out the ESC this way, and you can pull out the motor from a peg that mounts right about here. With this one, you start off by putting the peg inside of the motor mount, facing up, put it down, and then you're going to put in a screw right there. It's going to be a bit more difficult, but once you do it the first few times, it's going to be a piece of cake. In order to put in and undo the screw that goes right there, you have to take off the front body mount, and it's held in with 3 screws here, here, and here. Then you can just slide it forward and out. So with this peg, you want the little nick in it to be facing the top. Place inside of the motor mount, and you're gonna slide this in like that. Then while holding it there with one hand, you're going to put in this top part for the gear mesh adjustment. If I can get it in there, that would be great. Alright. We're semi in business. You want about like 1 to 2 millimeters of space between the motor mount and motor mount plate. Then for the bottom, you want the nicks to still be facing up, so if it goes out of alignment like it just did for me, you put a screwdriver in here, or better yet a flathead, which is over here in the back. You're going to push it up, because you can move it around. Now that it's proper, I'm going to tighten this all the way. well, nearly all the way, just when it starts to feel tight. Perfect. Now you're going to put in that bottom screw. Now this process will take you a long time at first because it's really aggravating. But believe me, you can get used to it. Alright, perfect. Now into setting the gear mesh. Now I don't have a spur gear right now, but normally you put a piece of paper in between the spur and pinion. Then while it's in there, you're going to tighten it like this. And I suggest that you do this because you have an aluminum motor mount plate, so why not? And then with this you have good leverage, and I cannot get it in here, which is really pathetic. But then you just tighten it all away, and then take the piece of paper out, and then the gear mesh is set. Put it back on the front body mount and with the 3 screws. Now I'm going to send the motor wires through a hole down that I made out of a metal wire and plug them in. And if when you're driving your vehicle it's moving backwards, you just switch around 2 of these motor wires and it's going to switch around the direction of the motor. As you can see, this is a great compact way to mount the Sidewinder into a mini E-Revo. But let's talk gearing for a second. Due to the complications of the receiver box being on the right and ESC on the left, there is gearing restrictions with this. The minimal gearing you can have is a 19-tooth pinion and a 55-tooth spur. I highly suggest you use this for the first time because it already is popping backflips with that gearing. That's how insane it is. So I suggest you stick with that at first and then maybe go a bit further. But this is how to mount your Sidewinder in the Merv.